My name, as you've heard, is Caroline Wright. I'm Vice President for EMEA for Harvard Business Corporate Learning. And we are a subsidiary of Harvard Business School and established to extend the reach and school of Harvard Business School. We work with organizations around the world to develop leaders and talent to lead their organizations forward and lead through transformation, which is a constant in many organizations today. But obviously in this region, with Vision 2030 and the transformational agenda, our work has never been so important. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today and also have the opportunity to talk with Nassaer. I actually had the opportunity to attend an event very, very similar to this post the London Olympics, and had a great discussion with the panelists there, the organisers and so forth. But I want to start out with saying congratulations, Nassaer, not only in securing the World Cup bid to host it in Qatar, which you very graciously said it was not only a win for Qatar, but a win for the GCC as a nation. And also congratulating you in what was globally recognised as being a very, very successful event. So congratulations on that. During the event, post-London Olympics, we really dug into how do you actually measure success, both within the event, directly after, and post the event. And we talked about 3 different areas of global sporting events such as this. One is around the sporting achievement, the other is around citizen performance, and then, of course, organizer performance, which is very much under the spotlight. I would love to start with looking at organizer performance. So you were tasked with, both preparing for and delivering an exceptional event. So can you maybe start sharing with us how you selected and assembled a strong and resilient team?
Thank you very much, Caroline, and I'd like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank the Harvard Business School GCC chapter and Riyadh chapter for inviting me to this prestigious event. And I'd like to say that it's a great pleasure being here with such accomplished individuals, to be able to share a panel with them and also be here with the audience. So your question is, well, first of all, let me go back to saying thank you for your congratulations. I wish I could be sitting on stage today also congratulating Saudi for going to the semifinals yesterday in the Asian Cup. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, although they really deserve to be going forward to the quarterfinals. How do we assemble a team? I mean, your parameters are correct. When you look at the success of an event, it's really got to do with the people, the population, the sporting, and the organization. And I feel that in Qatar, 12 years was just the right time. It might seem like it was a long time, but it was the right time needed to be able to pull off a World Cup under the circumstances that Qatar was in. If we look at it in hindsight now, I think from an organizational point of view, without, I might be a bit biased, but I think from an organizational point of view, we did extremely well. And I think from a population and people point of view, for the past 12 years before the World Cup, there was this huge sense of pride, but then there was also a huge sense of passion of propelling the country forward. And if we look at the success, I think in terms of sporting, this World Cup will go down in history, especially in terms of the football, the quality of football. The final match, I think, will go down as one of the greats, probably next to the '78 World Cup. Building a team, I think, it was, the previous session we spoke about diversity and inclusiveness, and I think this is something that naturally happened. Qatar being such a small country, a population of almost 3 million people, of which 300,000 are nationals, it was just natural. The tendency would be that you would be attracting a diverse group of people from over the world, and people with the right knowledge, people who have, and where you look at this knowledge is people who have had previous experience in mega events.
Yeah. And how did you ensure alignment? So when we transfer this to business, and you were CEO of this business, alignment is crucial. So alignment and collaboration is crucial. How did you ensure that?
Look, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is probably one of the trickiest and most challenging parts of organizing a World Cup because there's so many moving parts, and it's a very complex operation, and you work with different entities within the government, even within yourself as an organization. There are so many hands that need to speak to each other. So how do you get them all singing from the same page, and how do you get it? How do you get everybody going in the right direction without tripping over each other, so to say? And I think there's something that came from the event world, and you mentioned the Olympics, and I think it's important that you mentioned the Olympics because when we decided how to approach after we won the bid, how do we approach this World Cup? We looked at different models, and we saw that the London Olympics model was the best model for Qatar. They had a government entity called ODA, and then they had the local organizing committee. One was tasked with organization, and one was tasked with building the Olympic Village and working with the different government entities. So we adopted the same model for the World Cup in Qatar. What we created was a strong planning and integration unit, and basically it looks at all the different areas to make sure that there's no silos and to make sure that there is efficiencies and there's no duplication of costs on procurement or any duplication on cost on manpower. And if there's one lesson that I would take with me wherever I would go, or if there's one piece of advice that I can give our government or any government in the region here, is to enact something as strong as what we had, a planning and integration unit that was really empowered to make sure and to dig into the details of every, what we call functional areas, organization would call departments, really. And I think that was one of the biggest successes.
And during that journey, there's key and crucial skills along the way. And as you get closer to the delivery of the event, so how did you approach the identify the key and crucial skills available, or required?
Look, it's a national progression as you go through. Having 2 World Cups before you and being able to attend these World Cups and being able to sit and study how they deliver them, we were in a very fortunate position that as we grew our team, we sent them to attend events as shadow, participate as shadow program participants, or actually be seconded into these. And I think Qatar has a very strong track record in delivering sporting events, that we also had a strong national pool of people that knew what the requirements were. And the industry is quite small. It might seem big, but you realize that the industry is quite small, and the strong people start to stick, to really shine during each event, and you start to try to poach them early on.
Yeah.
And they're a traveling band. The people that work in events and sports events, they're like a traveling circus. They want to go to one event to the other, so they promise you 4 years down the line, I'll come and I'll join you in Qatar.
Yeah. I felt that too, and every flight I had to Doha, everybody was there to support the preparations for the World Cup. And actually, I went on a very regular basis and was there about 3 weeks before it started. And it was just incredible, the pace of progression from 2 months before to a few weeks before was just breathtaking. So congratulations with that. What is also incredibly unique for a sporting event such as this, when you're in delivery, you have a fixed period of time and you have to mobilize another workforce or talent pool to deliver. They're the front face. Those are what fans are seeing, the logistical, expertise that's required. That's very different when you move into that very sort of intensive delivery phase. So how did you prepare your leaders? And often an experience when you look at people on the ground interacting with fans, how did you then move into delivery mode?
I think the the key thing to take into consideration is we were all learning over this 12-year journey, and we all made mistakes. And I think one of the challenging things is you as a team, as a leadership team, put your plan and you go forward with it. But with the World Cup being such a strategic project,
Yeah.
a project that concerns everybody in the country, the leadership, it's an image, it's a reputation, and it's not just Qatar. We realize that, this is the first World Cup in the Middle East, the first World Cup in the Gulf. It needs to be successful. I mean, obviously you always aim to be the best, but I went to Russia in 2018, and I said if we can do 75% of what Russia did, I would consider it to be successful because it was quite well organized. So you're scrutinized as you're making your mistake, but nobody understands the plan that you've put for yourself. So when you're doing a mistake and you're expecting that I'm going to learn from this mistake here today and see how I'm going to fix it for the next time, you're being scrutinized by people, you're being scrutinized by the government, you're being scrutinized by media. And I think that's something that's very challenging. But the key to getting your team ready and the key to getting people used to what they need to be doing is as many test events as can be done. So we did Club World Cups. We did 2 editions of the Club World Cup. We did the Arab Cup. We did a lot of exhibition matches. And that we combined with our observation programs, with our shadowing programs, our secondment programs in Brazil, in Russia, at the Olympics, at the Euros, Champions League finals. So all of that came together like a nice ensemble at the end. And we've put a lot of people which we thought were very good at a certain thing. And then, 2 events down the line, we realized that we need to move them out of here. We need to try them somewhere else. But you're making these mistakes and you're looking ahead. But then you have to manage perception because people are looking at you and thinking, oh my God, we have 3 years to go. And you guys are still messing around. Your volunteers still don't know where the entrance is. Your volunteers still don't know. And we say, yes, we're trying to also make sure that these volunteers get to the point where they can do it. And it worked. It works like magic at the end. Everyone is really worried the day before the event because it looks like it's not coming together. But once you've done more than one event, you realize that even this event here, if you would have come here this is the second day of the event, probably the day before the event, an organizer would come here and say, why is this not ready? Where are all the lights? Why is the sound not ready? And then it just magically happens.
Yeah.
And you have to have faith in that. Your team will have to have faith in that. But the important thing is how you manage these perceptions of the people who are really your key stakeholders.
Yeah, and I think you've touched on something really important, which was similar to the London Olympics. The media love to be skeptical. The media love to share doubts and hesitation, and that can be really challenging for your workforce because they have to show resilience. And never is there such an important time for leadership, inspiring people to see, we are going to make that. So I think that's really, really important. I also love the fact you talked about the volunteers. So one of the main pillars or ingredients of success that was celebrated so loudly in London was the volunteers, because many of those volunteers, this was their first job. It was a very young demographic in London, and that's an unusual challenge because they are volunteers. They're doing this, and it's driven by purpose and passion and pride. So how did your sort of leadership team adjust to inspiring and leading employees? It's very different to volunteers. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I'll go back to the beginning of your question where you said with scrutiny comes a lot of pressure. And I probably think that, as 12 years to prepare, is a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's good. And I think also for 2034 here in Saudi, I think 12 years is the minimum that the country will need to really make sure that this World Cup is delivered to the standards that I know they want to deliver it. But 12 years of media scrutiny is taxing, and it takes a toll on you, on your health, because at the end of the day, again, you're scrutinized about how you answer, how you respond to the media, how you respond to allegations, how you respond to criticism, and you're also trying to figure out and navigate how you're going to respond to media at certain times. And, I remember this. I don't know how many people have been following the journey of Qatar's bid, but there was a time where, I'll very clearly say it, that there were certain entities media and otherwise that wanted to strip Qatar of the World Cup.
Yep.
I mean, it was getting to a point where this was a matter of life and death, so to say. But I think also on the flip side, it was a galvanizing factor because we had people that joined, that came to Qatar specifically for this. We had people that joined the World Cup, that don't come from the world of sports or don't come from the world of events. And, for Qatar, for this region and the type of scrutiny it went through, I think it was an eye-opener for all of us. And I think maybe it's something that, that people can benefit from it going in the future. But for the employees, it was a galvanizing factor because people said, we're going to make this successful. We're going to stick by what we said, and we're going to deliver the best World Cup ever.
Well, I think part of that is your leadership and your determination and your integrity and your passion to deliver. So I would congratulate you on that. And so we've also talked about measuring success, but part of that success is the legacy of hosting an event of this magnitude. And so what were the key legacy goals that you had as you entered into delivering on the event, and how will you measure and track the impact of that?
So this is something that's raised with every mega sporting event because they find seeing what happened with the Olympics in Greece and seeing what happened with the World Cup in South Africa and following that the World Cup in Brazil. A big question is it really worth it? What is the legacy of such events? And people throw out a lot of nice words and a lot of fancy concepts to say, this is the legacy of our event and so forth. We wanted to do something that was impactful and meaningful. So in 2008, Qatar had issued its 2030 vision. And Qatar won the World Cup in 2010. And we said, if we can just do one or two things that really impacts the Qatar national vision, then we've done our part on legacy. And we broke down the pillars of the legacy: environmental, social, human, and economical. We said, look, economical is going to be challenging. Qatar is going to spend a lot of money building these stadiums, preparing for this World Cup. But let's see if we can push the environmental agenda forward. And we did. We really pushed the electric vehicle agenda forward. Now, 60% of our public transport is electric.
Yep.
So that's one thing. Our stadiums, we vow that our stadiums will not be any, there won't be any white elephants or stadiums that really have no use. And all our stadiums are designed with their post-World Cup use. So I think these are two of the key legacies that we've left. And, the intangible legacy is what we're also looking at. What is done for the region, what is done for the country, and the inspiration really it gave to the whole region.
And we also talked about citizen performance. But you were very intentional around this isn't just a win for Qatar, it's a win for the GCC as a whole. And we heard yesterday about the aspirations to make the GCC the new EU. So there was a lot at stake, not just for Qatar, but for the region as a whole. So again, what were some of the intentional steps you took to, on the world stage, to present a unified GCC?
I think, the GCC is really embarking on a new era, and I think it will be, for the foreseeable future, it will be the magnet that's going to attract capital. It's going to be the magnet that's going to attract a lot of human capital, and I think it's going to be the buzzword for years to come. And, something like hosting a World Cup in a region that maybe people might have heard of, seen on TV, but never thought of visiting.
Yeah.
I think it goes a long way in terms of not just nation branding, but region branding. And it opens people's eyes to the region, and, all of a sudden, the Gulf region is a powerhouse in sports, is a powerhouse in mega events. And I think we're going to see that with the sporting events that are being attracted here in Saudi Arabia. I mean, Qatar is also going to be hosting the Basketball World Championship in 2027, Asian Games in 2030. I believe there's a push for the Olympics as well. So I think it's good for the region as a whole.
And you started to host F1. You're on the F1 circuit
Yeah,
too. So
yeah. I think there's a lot of F1s that are happening in the region right now.
yeah, congratulations. So hopefully Saudi Arabia will be hosting the World Cup. What lessons and what advice could you give to transfer some of the experiences that you lived through? And as you've already shared with us, it was a really, really challenging time when you're under such scrutiny. So what advice would you give to the Saudi Arabia team?
It's funny because I'm in touch with some individuals that are involved right now with the bid, and I think it's safe to say that Saudi will be hosting the World Cup because the bidding
Yeah.
process is closed. But I think it's being patient and really learning how to find serenity in yourself while there's a storm around you, and just to stay steadfast and to learn how to breathe, because it can become very intense very quickly. And like I said, it's a very complex operation with so many moving parts.
Yeah. And we can align that to business. There's many organizations that from time to time, industries or organizations that come under severe criticism or pressure. And it's for CEOs or the leaders of those organizations, as you say, to show that resilience and just inspire and lead those through that. I'm sure there's many people that want to ask you some questions, and I was incredibly excited to be having this conversation with you, and I also think you've touched on this, and it's all about soft power. Today, it's so crucially important when you're awarded these types of events that you deliver well, because your country and your citizens are sort of on the world stage. I can say that I'm Scottish, living in Amsterdam, and I can say that the press there, it was all so incredibly positive. So I congratulate you with that. And I also agree with, it puts on the world stage perhaps locations that tourists from around the world hadn't considered visiting. But I think the showcase was the warmth and the hospitality that was shown by Qatari people to the visitors. So I'd like to congratulate you,
Thank you. I appreciate
on that. But I would also I see, look, we've got 0 there, but we're going to take some questions and we're going to run over a little bit too. So do we have any questions? There's a gentleman in the third row that has a question for you.
Thank you. It's not really a question, but I'd like to emphasize on the success of Qatar. I live in Qatar. I've gone through the years following very closely, and I think what really helped making it such a success is the engagement with the people, not only those who were directly connected to the Supreme Committee and the organization, but also the volunteers. It's been the engagement with the people, the communication, from the leadership all down to those who had to control these teams. And also the patience, stand above all the criticism, and I'm sure that Saudi will experience exactly the same criticism from all over the world. I hail from the West, so I've been very close to all this criticism. I've even had a stage where I tried to defend, Qatar, where they stood, and I gave up because I knew Qatar would show the world they were able to deliver, and they did. And I'm sure Saudi will do the same. They will go through the same process. And again, congratulations to Mr. Khater and to Qatar again. I was proud to be there, and I'm sure we'll be proud to be in Saudi during the same stage. That's all.
Oh, thank you so much. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or observations?
Nassaer, thank you very much. It was an interesting conversation. One question, in retrospect, so soft power of sports is phenomenal. What's happened, for example, when the football team from here went to Iran 3-4 months ago and opened up that kind of a dialogue. So in retrospect, would you say that if Qatar had organized a regional competition like we are planning in America and Canada and Mexico, countries together, and having games in Qatar or Oman and Saudi and Dubai, etc., Would you say that would be a much more powerful way to deliver this phenomenal event? I mean, it was a phenomenally successful event, I have to say that. But would you say that it would have been a bigger, better event if it had been regional?
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. When Qatar in 2009 put in its proposal to bid, it actually put its bid in on behalf of Qatar and the GCC. And FIFA refused it on the outset and said, listen, right now we're going to stay from regional events, and please, if you want to bid, bid just as Qatar and don't bid on behalf of a region or another country. And I think that was on the back of a very challenging World Cup in 2002, which was shared between Japan and Korea. And there was a lot of issues that happened there, so they were hesitant. And we believed that it would actually be a much more powerful World Cup, and we believed that it would be a World Cup that really stood for the region at that time. So unfortunately, that didn't take place. And then when FIFA started to think about the 48 teams, they wanted to see if they can introduce it in 2022, and asked us if we'd consider looking at it being a regional World Cup, and we agreed. And I think FIFA came back after doing some discussions. I think some of the neighboring countries felt it was too late. I mean, there was, I think, 3 years or 4 years until the World Cup, and some of the neighboring countries said there's not enough time to prepare for it. So yes, everyone recognized it. We recognized it early on, and FIFA recognized it quite late, but unfortunately we couldn't have it regional.
So what prompted that from FIFA so late on?
FIFA's wanting to include more teams, 48 teams. So we're the last World Cup with 32 teams. Every World Cup from now is going to be 48 teams until they realize maybe it's too many teams, I think. And then they'll go back to 32.
FIFA changed their mind?
We'll see.
I'm kidding.
We'll see.
Are there any other questions? No, I think we're done. Well, Nassaer, thank you so much. And again, huge congratulations for such a successful event. So congratulations, and thank
so
you
much.
for your time
Thank you.
today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.